Hi and welcome, I'm Andy Miocz and you are watching Context. Russia and Ukraine will hold new peace talks on Wednesday in Istanbul, according to the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. He offered a new round of direct talks over the weekend, to which Kremlin responded saying the Russian President Vladimir Putin is ready to move toward a peace settlement, but that Moscow's main objective remains to achieve its goals. All of this comes as US President Donald Trump issued an ultimatum to Russia last week to accept a peace deal in Ukraine within 50 days or face severe tariffs at around 100%. Trump also said that top-of-the-line weapons would be sent to Ukraine from the US via its NATO partners in Europe. In the meantime, Russia continues to launch heavy strikes on Ukrainian cities. On the latest surrounding the war, new negotiations, and the shift in Washington's stance towards Moscow, we're talking with Maria Dmitrievka-Penyak, president of the Ukrainian Congress Committee's Illinois Division, joining us from Chicago. Welcome. Thank you so much for being with us. Now, ahead of a new round of peace talks, Moscow says it does not expect a miraculous breakthrough. What would you say could be expected from this round? Could we see something different than the previous two rounds held in Istanbul?
Good evening, and thank you for having me. This is exactly what you mentioned. This is going to come 50 days after the day's ultimatum for potential peace talks. So just by looking at the timeline, potential in this meeting is simply delaying the peace talks. Because if you have another meeting coming up, why would you make the peace deal in 50 days? So this is simply buying time for Putin, potentially agreeing to such a meeting in China. But another deeply alarming consequence is that Ukraine is not mentioned as party that's invited to the talks. So if President Trump agrees to such talks, that would also mean a betrayal of Ukraine on the international scene, also a betrayal of Western partners, allies that are all working towards ending this horrible war in Ukraine. And also it provides Putin with the global image that he is some kind of peacemaker. And let's not forget, China is playing a big role in enabling this war, in enabling Putin to use Chinese technology in bypassing sanctions. Chinese parts are found in drones that are sent to Ukraine daily. Before they would at least remove the labels. Now Chinese labels are on many parts that are bombarding Ukraine daily. So this also enables China to continue with what they are doing if they are taken into account as some kind of peace broker and global peacemaker. So there's a lot of fronts with the optics of this meeting, because you cannot really bring Putin to the table unless it's only by force, meaning you cannot bring him to end this war, to back down, unless it is the weapons, because that's the only way to stop dictators, is to stop them, not to negotiate with them.
Well, now that you've mentioned the possibility of a Putin-Trump meeting in China, just for our viewers, Kremlin has not ruled out a meeting of the two presidents in September in China at events marking the end of the Second World War. Now, Maria, Volodymyr Zelensky has on numerous occasions offered direct talks with Vladimir Putin face-to-face. There has been no positive response from Moscow. Could Trump maybe meeting Putin bring some momentum here to clinch a ceasefire?
Absolutely not, because we all know how deceitful Putin is in his talks with President Trump. He uses personal tactics of the KGB agent to praise the other person that he's negotiating with. He steers a conversation in the direction where it's not meaningful for ending the war, and he would simply use this meeting as prolonging his current war of aggression and not achieving meaningful results. He's simply trying to buy time for himself, as you see with the current offensive, to grab more Ukrainian territories. So there should be absolutely no trust to this meeting. With Zelensky meeting was, so basically Ukraine said it over and over again, that they are willing to come to every negotiation, that they are willing to negotiate every option possible. Ukraine is very open in that regard, that they would be willing to come to any negotiation that they are invited to, including with Putin.
Trump has recently expressed his disappointment with Putin on several occasions, but he said he is not done with him. The US president has said he will supply Kyiv with billions of dollars of military equipment in coordination with NATO allies in Europe. How much would you say that Trump's positions on the war have changed, and could his change of approach give Ukraine the upper hand in the immediate future?
This is long overdue disappointment and disenchantment with Putin and his tactics. It is very clear to many that Putin is just trying to deceive President Trump by playing being a nice guy and just wanting what is his, supposedly, or blaming NATO expansion on this war when it's really just one person, Putin, and his proxies that are responsible for this war. President Trump is facing a lot of pressure here at home to be more aggressive, to call this war what it is, which is just Russia trying to grab Ukrainian territory and erase Ukrainian identity. As of now, you might know, there is a Russia sanctions bill in the Senate that is co-signed by 85 senators, which is the great majority. This is a veto-proof majority if it were brought to the table. So that's kind of pressure that is right now being put on president just from his own party and from, actually it's very bipartisan because again, both parties co-signed this bill and it's ready to be voted on, and we're hoping it will be voted on by the end of this month, and the signal will be very strong that Putin has to stop attacking Ukraine and has to come to negotiations.
Besides the bill, which is currently in Senate that you mentioned, the clock is ticking on Trump's 50-day ultimatum to Moscow. Some critics say that the threat of a 100% tariff on Russia simply isn't enough. What are your thoughts on that?
That is possible, of course. There's more than one way that this bill could send a signal. The tariffs, of course, will weaken already crippling Russian economy. It also sends a message. Again, 85% of the senators are ready to tighten control over finances and then impose those tariffs, which again could potentially be economically not super advantageous for United States as well. But this is the message to the world and to the Russian people that you have to stop your own dictator, otherwise this economy will affect everyone. So yes, this is also a message, and it might be hard to enforce those sanctions in all the regards, but it should be definitely tried. And if this bill is voted for, it also will provide reassurance to US and Ukraine's allies that United States is still standing with the democratic world and still playing a major part in ending this war.
Coming back to the direct peace talks themselves, we've seen the previous two rounds in Istanbul not delivering much in terms of a ceasefire. They did, to be frank, deliver the prisoner swaps. What would you say is needed to happen so that any new possible round of talks would bring some significant progress? Is it sanctions, more military aid to Kiev, something else entirely?
All of the above, but the main progress that needs to happen, the message has to be tougher to Putin, because right now he is still allowed to play games, to play mind games, to play negotiating games on a global stage and at home. Because again, optics of him being next to President Trump is really playing well for him back at home, because look, I'm a big leader that everyone wants to talk to, and that somehow justifies what he's doing to his own people too, because over a million of them at least that we know of, probably more, has died in this war as well. So it's not just about killing Ukrainians, it's about killing Russians. So the major progress would be not just giving Ukraine everything Ukraine needs to win this war in terms of weapons, is to be consistent with the message from the world to Putin. And that message also should come from China and proxies that are helping Putin, that are sending their weapons to Putin in this war, because the world has to unite and has to toughen the sanctions, the message, the actions of everyone. It really will take the global stage, all global players, to end this.
We've seen the French foreign minister yesterday in Kiev in a surprise visit, in a show of support. He was saying that somehow there needs to be a summit of the three presidents of Ukraine, Russia, and the US. Do you see this war ending in such a manner?
Likely not. It might be a beginning of something that could lead to the end of the war, but I think it will take more than three presidents to end this. And again, the most important part that it would take is the United States President Trump's willingness to show the tough position on Putin, on evil, on the axis of evil, just like he showed with Iran by bombing nuclear sites. He could do the same to Russia potentially if they are not negotiating. So yes, potentially, maybe, but again, it would really be on the table of in the corner of President Trump, to show the tough position, which at this point, again, we see some glimpses of that potentially happening, but as of now, we're still seeing this soft spot towards Putin, which should not be there. And then I'm hoping just any time, again, with his own conclusions, meaning President Trump's own conclusions based on Putin's actions and the pressure that is mounting here at home in the United States to end this war and to call Putin for what he is, just a thug and dictator, to end the war by providing Ukraine with weapons and stopping proxies and allies by putting sanctions and tariffs on them, to continue working with Putin and to be economic partners. So all of those actions could be potentially successful.
Maria, thank you so much for joining us and providing us with your insights and opinions.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching. That's all we had for you in this edition of Context. But stay tuned to A News.